For many years, youth unemployment in South Africa has been described as a ticking time bomb. It's an issue that needs urgent attention, as we've all accepted, as with every passing year, graduates look to enter the labour market. There have been several attempts by government to try and tackle the problem, and role players were looking to the President's SONA address on Thursday for the way forward. Kristal Duncan-Williams from the Youth Capital campaign joins me now to delve into this. Kristal, thank you so much for your time this morning. A very good morning to you. So, your thoughts on President Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address, and particularly looking at the practicalities in solving the crisis of youth unemployment?
Thanks so much, Faith. Yeah, so I think we were really looking to the president for some new energy, some practical solutions, and really a sense that he understands the realities on the ground. And I think the resounding feeling from young people on the evening was that the president is disconnected. It sounded like he mentioned the same things again, but without any real indication of how these things are going to be tweaked to be effective for helping young people become economically productive.
But then the quick question, and I remember that he said he urges private sector to hire young people without work experience, also saying that particularly those that are going into junior roles, he urges the private sector to incubate these young people without the work experience so that they can get the work experience that is required. But the big question then becomes, are young people actually employable? And it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Exactly. And, the president can call on the private sector and young people welcome that, because they often say, how must I get experience if nobody's going to give me a chance to get the experience? And so that's all fine and well. But the reality is that not all businesses are equipped to nurture the young people in that first work experience. So at the end of last year, Youth Capital did a survey with small and medium businesses, and we came up with a report which showed that many small and medium businesses will say, as much as they want to hire a young person and mentor them, they just don't have the time and the capacity. It's easier for bigger corporates that have HR teams to be able to do something like that. But when it comes to a small business, it's really almost an impossible ask that they would kind of take a young person and show them the ropes, the basics, how to show up for work, how to communicate with your superiors, how to write an email. These are basic work skills that young people just don't have. And so I think that while the call from the president is great, it's not always really practical for the business sector to do that.
Yeah, and more than anything else, it needs an integrated relationship, doesn't it, between basic education, higher education, and where these young people are placed in spaces of work. And it doesn't also help, Kristal, that a lot of these young people are falling by the wayside. What you start with, for example, what was started with in 2011 is not what you end up with come 2022 when it comes to matric results. You've got a bunch of young people that are NEETs, not educated, not employed, and not trained. And then the big question becomes, what happens to those ones?
Exactly. And I think there aren't enough interventions trying to catch young people up. So, at Youth Capital, we focus a lot on the Second Chance Matric program, which is, a matric certificate is not going to change the life of a young person in the immediate, but it is a gateway into future opportunities of work and earning and learning. And so we really need support mechanisms for young people to be able to re-enter the system regardless of where they fell out. And the truth of the matter is that, our technical colleges are not very equipped to catch young people up if they haven't completed a matric certificate. And so these young people, as you say, tend to just be left by the wayside. And we really need to all work together, yes, all of the education departments, but then also the plethora of youth employment programs to really also speak to the business side, because I think we often speak in silos on the demand side of the problem without engaging with the employer. And these conversations need to be more linked and more intentional.
Are you optimistic about the Skills Fund that has just now been allocated more money?
Well, I think if we look at the history of things like CETAs and the other skills plans, I'm sorry to say I'm not that optimistic. I think that there's a lot of misadministration and hurdles that are put in place to kind of access money and create a skills pipeline that actually serves the needs of the economy. And I think we aren't always forward thinking enough about that. So I would love to be proved wrong.